Are you feeling stressed lately? Well, your body feels it, but your mouth feels the effects of it as well. So let's talk a little bit about how stress does affect your mouth and how to resolve that stress and the effects you see in your mouth in ways that you may never have heard before. There are really four different areas, and probably more, but four main areas that we see the effects of stress happening in the mouth. The first is from worn teeth. And this is one you may have heard of before. If you're grinding and clenching your teeth, and people will often tell me it's because I'm stressed or when I'm stressed. We're going to get to why in just a moment. The second is gums. So, gum health is often dependent on your overall health. And if your overall health is off hormonally because cortisol is high from stress levels being high, it will throw off hormone function and hormone levels throughout your entire body. And gums are particularly sensitive to changes in hormones. So, gums is the second area we'll see stress showing up. The third is actually tooth decay. Now, why might this be happening? Well, when you're stressed, one of the common side effects is dry mouth. And dry mouth can lead to increased rates of tooth decay because saliva is the natural protector, the natural cleaner. And if you have less of it, then your teeth are unprotected from bacteria, from plaque, and you end up with more tooth decay. The fourth area that you may never have thought about is things like canker sores and other mouth sores. Why are those connected with stress? Because when you're stressed, your body is unable to protect itself from other things that are happening. So let's go through these four areas. And really, I want to talk about why, what could be causing them, how you can treat it, and how to help avoid these problems showing up in your mouth. So, the first, let's talk about that tooth grinding. This is something that I talk about so often in my practice. And, there was a woman in particular I will always remember. She was so frustrated. She and her husband were both there together. And they started talking to me just about how her body was under so much stress. She had some illnesses that she had been fighting for quite a long time. Some of these were bacterial, viral in nature. So she was really working to combat that. She had some physical challenges. I remember she had arthritis, her knees were achy. She wasn't able to do a lot of walking. And she was blaming all of her other symptoms on these physical problems. She was so frustrated because she was gaining weight and had been for quite some time. In fact, she said she'd put on about 60 pounds. And she looked at her husband to kind of, verify what she was telling me. But she said, I eat nothing. I eat nothing. I eat, a quarter of the food that he eats. He doesn't gain a pound, and I'm gaining weight steadily. She was so frustrated, in tears. Her husband, I could tell, had heard this over and over. He was frustrated for her. And they were so relieved to hear that there's actually some answers from this for all of these complaints that she had that actually start in the mouth. So let's get to what that means. Just like this woman, when I looked in her mouth, I noticed that she had very worn teeth. Not all of them. So, this is something that's a little bit misunderstood. If all of your teeth are flattened off equally, then it means you're really doing a lot of grinding. If just the front teeth are flattened off, it means you're bringing your bottom jaw forward to get air. But even all of the grinding often happens at nighttime. They don't know what's going on. It happens when they're stressed out, something's going on stressful in their life. It happens when they're working out, when they're focused. All of those things have one thing in common. All of those things require more oxygen for brain function. If your body is unable to get enough oxygen naturally because of all the things we talk about with sleep apnea, swelling in the mouth because of infected teeth, or infections where teeth were removed because the mouth is too small, there's just not enough room for tongue and tissue and everything to fit, because heaven forbid they took teeth out for braces and brought everything backward because there's a tongue tie. There's a lot of things that can contribute to this. But if there's not physically enough space for you to get enough air, then in times that your body needs more air, it has some things it does to accommodate. And one of the things it does is grinds or clenches or squeezes the teeth. Why? Well, particularly in times of added focus, you need the airway or the tube that the air goes through to be wider. You need a greater volume of air through there, and especially at night as well. Well, when the muscles are relaxed, that tissue in the mouth, the tongue, everything can fall back and block off that tube. So your body knows if it tightens all of the muscles up, it can help hold the tube open more. Grinding does just that. It enables all of these muscles to be tight and the tube to be open. And at nighttime, even more so, the jaw brought forward like this opens this space in the airway in the back and allows more air to come through. So if you are grinding, squeezing, clenching during times of stress or at nighttime, this is the sign that you are not getting enough air. So what do you do about it? You can make a night guard, but I'm going to caution you just a little on this for two reasons. Number one, it's not addressing the root cause of the problem, right? Which is most likely an oxygen deficiency. It's not fixing that at all to wear a night guard. It is protecting the teeth from that clenching and grinding, but it's not fixing the reason that you're doing it. So it's really not getting to the root cause. The second reason that a mouth guard could be problematic is because it actually occupies space in your mouth. And remember, part of the problem is that there's not enough space in the mouth for tongue, for tissue, so it all has to fall backward. Well, now you put a big piece of, acrylic in there, and you're taking up even more space from the tongue and the tissues, and you may actually make the problem worse. Again, you're protecting your teeth from the grinding, but you are worsening the reason that you're grinding. So what do we recommend? We recommend a cone beam CT scan to see physically what's happening that's leading to this airway obstruction, to not getting enough air. Once we correct that is when we start seeing that grinding and clenching and muscle tension, everything relax. And this is where we started with the woman I was talking about earlier. So we said, listen, you can't breathe. You literally can't breathe. So what happens if you can't breathe? We already talked about the physical things you do. You bring your bottom jaw forward, you grind, you clench, you do all of that. But it also pushes your body into fight or flight mode. So not breathing, as well as other things in life, can push your body into fight or flight mode. And fight or flight mode, we call it, the difference is fight or flight or rest and refresh. So when we're in fight or flight and we're literally, running away from a bear, metaphorical bear, usually for us in our lives, everything goes to our extremities, right? We're supposed to be running away. We can scream, we can run fast, but everything moves away from our regulatory mechanisms, or the things that we do just on a normal basis. So the rest and the refresh stop. Well, if you're not breathing, you're not sleeping very well, your body's pushed into fight or flight. If you have things going on in your life that are very, very stressful, your body's pushed into fight or flight. One of the symptoms of that is dry mouth. So usually stress leading to dry mouth is because you are in fight or flight mode. So that dry mouth can be very damaging to your teeth. And there are some things you can do to protect yourself from it. The main things that I recommend are hydroxyapatite in every form and shape you can potentially get it in. So that's going to be using the hydroxyapatite tooth powder, the hydroxyapatite mouthwash. You're going to use, if you can find sugar-free mint or gum. Xylitol is a fabulous way to get a sweetened enough mint or gum, but one that won't cause tooth decay. It will keep your mouth moist as well. These are all things along with just drinking a lot of water, carrying that water bottle with you everywhere you go to make sure that you're really keeping your mouth moist and saliva flowing so that it won't lead to more tooth decay. One biggie that I see, and I see people with this all the time, they'll have cavities all along the gum line on one side. And I'll say, well, what do you do over there? Something's happening. And they say, oh, I put a cough drop in that side when I go to bed at night. Well, that cough drop puts sugar against all of the teeth on that side and leads to massive tooth decay over there. So if you need to have something in your mouth at night, make sure it's xylitol containing. I don't like it because I don't want you to, choke and die in the middle of the night on whatever you have in your mouth. But preferably you'll have just used the mouthwash before you go to bed. You'll put hydroxyapatite on those areas, drink some water, then go to bed, hopefully live without the mint. But if there's something that needs to be in the mouth, have it be xylitol containing. Now let's get into the gum piece. Stress will also lead to, again, hormone changes like we talked about, high cortisol, which is adrenaline, all of those things, which throws off the hormone balance in the gums. So what can you do to protect yourself? Let's just say this is a stressful period of life and there's nothing you're going to be able to do to change that immediately. How can you just protect yourself? So one thing you can do is absolutely the hydroxyapatite mouthwash because it has herbals in it. Not a lot of people know this about the mouthwash. It has lavender, which is very good for inflammation. It has calendula, which is very good to help protect the mouth. It actually has marshmallow root, which stimulates saliva. All of these things are intended to give your gums nutrients and help so that they can be in a better state. Now, from a hormone standpoint, there's other things you're going to do on the outside that help with that. And I actually always recommend herbal hormone support if possible. So look that up, talk to your functional medicine practitioner. What can you do to help me with cortisol and with things like this that are really high at this time of my life? How can I use some herbs to help calm that down? And then you're going to use herbs in the mouthwash to help your gums. And really important, make sure you're seeing the dentist frequently. If you're really stressed, make sure you're coming to visit a lot. We're going to check the teeth to make sure you're not getting tooth decay and the gums to make sure they're staying healthy. Now, the last one that we mentioned was canker sores and other oral ulcers. Why in the world would that be related to stress? Because when you're stressed, your body's immune system is depressed. It just can't take care of itself as well. And usually canker sores are immune based. So what do you need to do? You really need to focus on decreasing inflammation. And this is an interesting one my husband found. Totally side result, side benefit of some changes we were doing at home for my own diet. I was changing my diet because I'm changing my diet and I'm the cook in the family. Everybody's diet changed. And as he started doing things like taking out potato chips from what he was doing, not eating nearly as much sugar and sweets, he was just always doing that, not drinking soda, all of those things, all of a sudden he stopped getting canker sores. And we went, what's going on here? He didn't intend, he wasn't trying to do that, but we were thrilled that that happened. Why? Because inflammation went down in his system. So it's a lot of the things you already know about. It's decreasing sugar, is decreasing inflammatory foods, which are all of the whites, white sugar, white flour, all of those things are actually very inflammatory. A lot of people find that gluten is inflammatory for them. So we really cut down on that significantly for us as well. Cutting down sugar, sugary sweets, all of those things like the Sour Patch Kids are incredibly acidic and they will damage the gum tissue and cheek tissue and lead to sores. So just cut those out, replace them with things that have xylitol as a sweetener, replace them with things that are natural sugars like fruit and things that are tasty but not going to damage your tissues. Also, soda is incredibly damaging to the tissues just because it's so acidic. Running through all of this, you can see that some things in the mouth will cause stress in the body, like not getting enough air. But stress will also cause things in the mouth, like dry mouth, like hormone changes in the gums, like canker sores. Very interrelated as our body is. So make sure that you're thinking carefully about diet choices, decreasing inflammation, increasing immune function with things like elderberry so that your body's able to fight more. And you're going to find that hopefully your stress decreases as well as your immune strength increases and your mouth health increases. Now back to the story we started with this woman. What did we do? Well, we figured out that her mouth was too small for her tongue. She had some infection in her mouth, so we removed some infected teeth. Infection went down. We expanded and made more room for her tongue in her mouth. And all of a sudden she started breathing and sleeping. And guess what happened? The weight went away because she wasn't eating any food. She just was in fight or flight and her body was literally holding on to every single calorie that she was consuming because it was in survival mode. When she came out of survival mode, she started sleeping better, started breathing better. All of a sudden her body started functioning better and she let go of the weight and she lost about 50 pounds without having to change her diet or her exercise at all. And all of a sudden 50 pounds just went away because her body was out of stress mode. She was sleeping again and she felt better than she had in years. If this sounds like something you're suffering from stress, either from physical reasons or from lifestyle reasons, there's things to protect your mouth, but also check and make sure that your mouth isn't causing you more stress.